What's going on, everyone? So the Lakers have been very active on the trade front, and in particular for perimeter 3-and-D wings, point of attack guards, such as like a Bruce Brown. And the big question is like, okay, well, what about the center position, right? A lot of people point out that like, hey, the Lakers need a center. Now, I do agree that the Lakers could use another backup center. I don't think it's as huge of a priority as some of the other needs. Personally, I just don't. But that doesn't mean that you don't want a center. The issue is how realistic is it to acquire a center at this time? And the reason I say at this time is because there's belief that Jonas Valanciunas is eventually going to make his way to the Lakers. That eventually the Lakers are going to go and acquire him from the Washington Wizards. But he can't be traded till, I think it's like December 15th or something like that. So right now, in the moment, the Lakers don't really necessarily seem like they're even able to trade for a center. Yes, there's been names, Walker Kessler, Wendell Carter Jr., to be specific, like names that have been out there at the center spot. But we don't even know how serious those teams are in trading those people, right? And two, we don't know what the cost is. Like Walker Kessler, for example. There was the report that Danny Ainge may be interested in trading Walker Kessler, and then there was the report that the Knicks offered 2 firsts for him, and he rejected it. Like, we don't necessarily know if he's actively trying to trade Walker Kessler. Now, listening and actually trading someone are very different things, right? Every team listens for players. I mean, the Lakers even listened to the Warriors about LeBron, right? Like, you listen, you at least be respectful, and okay, what do you got for me, right? Because you never know, right? Something crazy could end up happening, right? Like, so you always do your due diligence in that sense, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to trade them. And so, to me, if you can't get that center, your best course of action is to sew up the perimeter, right? So, to me, get a, Jerami Grant, right? We'll use him as an example because it's a guy that the Lakers are active in trying to acquire. Can you get a Jerami Grant and, a Bruce Brown? Just use names that have been linked to the Lakers, right? Could there be that player that isn't talked about or that no one expects that's coming out of the woodworks? Sure. That's always a possibility, right? You never know. There could be that guy that, like Rui wasn't heavily talked about. I know that's how I got my Lakerdamus nickname and stuff like that. But again, it was just kind of like, hey, the Wizards aren't going to pay this guy. Maybe the Lakers should go and acquire him. And then, it was just a thought for me. It wasn't really talked about. It wasn't really reported, right? It was just kind of like I got lucky on a guess. Like I was like, hey, this is a guy that makes sense and may be available, right? But it wasn't reported. The Lakers have done that on occasion. So it's very possible. There may be that center that's out there. Maybe it's like a Nick Richards or something that we just didn't see coming. Maybe it's a Clint Capella, right? Maybe the Lakers are looking at it. It's like, hey, we could get Clint for pennies on the dollar. Yeah, he's $20 million, but he's expiring. So if he works out, we can give him a new deal on a cheaper rate, shed some salary for next season, right? And then go and pull off. Or maybe use him and flip him later on down the road. Give you some options, flexibility. You never know what's going on behind the scenes. We're not in the office with Rob on the phone, so we don't know. We're just going off for reports and kind of giving our own speculations and thoughts, right? That's what it's all about. But to me, even if you can't get a center, I do think the Lakers would be fine. Now, it's not so much Anthony Davis at the 5 as it is Jackson Hayes as the backup, right? I like Jackson Hayes. I think he has a ton of potential, ton of room of growth. I think he's a guy that, I've even said in the past, I wouldn't mind the Lakers keeping long-term as a development big. He's still young enough to where you can really kind of take your time in molding him and shaping him. Playing slotted alongside Anthony Davis should help kind of expedite those things. What strides does he take between last season and this season? We'll see. But I still think as of right now, unless he just takes these extraordinary leaps, I think realistically he's probably best as your third center, right? As your third backup. There's guys, Bruno Fernando, right? Did a video over on AIS The Lakers Show, breaking him down. But could you get him? But
again, he's probably closer to a third big than he is your secondary big. Right? You could go with Christian Wood, have Christian Wood be your primary big, right? His ability to stretch the floor. But again, he's not really that big body natural center. It would be best for the Lakers if they could get a guy, even like a Jakob Poeltl or something like that, right? Is another name that I've thrown out there. Chances are, if the Lakers do get a center, it's probably an overpriced team wants to get rid of this guy type center, so it would be like a Clint Capella or something, right? Because again, Utah doesn't really have an incentive to trade Walker Kessler, right? Orlando doesn't really have an incentive to trade Wendell Carter Jr. Unless they really do, which is a real possibility, they want to start moving Banchero to the 5 more, which they've actually been best with him at the 5. So do they do something like that? But even then, Wendell Carter could play the 4, right? So you could always just swap those two and just have, one play the 5, one play the 4, right? So again, like that is where the dilemma lies. So to me, it becomes what becomes more significant, right? What is more of a necessity for the Lakers? Now, some people might think it is a center. I don't think so. Like, the Lakers didn't really have a problem with the interior last season. It was the perimeter. Lakers were like 29th in perimeter defense, right? Like, they were fine on the interior. Like, teams weren't just walking layup lines, right? I mean, when Anthony Davis was out, they were, but when Anthony Davis was in the game, which he's going to play 35 minutes a game at the center position, the interior was the least of our concerns. Now, rebounding and stuff like that, obviously, we could use and help. But also, how much are you going to slot the two bigs together? Right? I'm sure if you were to get another center, sure you would on occasion, but how frequently are you going to do that? Right? And even then, you could always slide Rui to the 4. He's like 3 rebounds better a game when he's there. Christian Wood can help you rebound. I mean, he's 7-8 rebound a game guy who wasn't really utilized that way last season. So again, you can make some minor tweaks to make us better rebounding. But defensively, right, the interior was not a problem. We were good in that regard. It was perimeter defense because you had D'Angelo Russell, Austin Reeves, and Rui Hachimura, 3 guys that they can't defend a shadow, right? Like, so it's like how do you expect to be good in that regard? Also, most of the Lakers' rebounding issues were because of the lack of athleticism out on the perimeter, right? Most of the offensive rebounds we gave up, again, go watch the tape. They were long ball rebounds that opposing teams were just tracking down and getting to because they just have to outrun D'Angelo Russell, who he himself says he's the slowest guy in the league, Austin Reeves, and Rui Hachimura. I mean, I could probably outrun those guys, right? Like, well, maybe not so much anymore. I got the dad bod, but my heyday, I probably could have, right? But like, in all seriousness, right? Like, how do you improve the rebounding? How do you improve the perimeter defense? You get perimeter guys. If you can go get, even if it's not a Jerami Grant, say it's Cam Johnson, like Cam Johnson and like Bruce Brown, right? Well, now you've improved your perimeter defense. You still maintain shooting with Cam Johnson, lose some shooting with Bruce Brown, but you're so much better defensively, right? Like, now you have that legit point of attack. You have that guy that can initiate. You have that athleticism out on the perimeter between like a Cam Johnson and a Bruce Brown. Bruce Brown also is a guy that could get to the rim and apply rim pressure, right? Like, those are the things. Like, if you can't get that center, right? Like, ideally, in a perfect world, you get a Jerami Grant and a Wendell Carter Jr. At that point, I think the Lakers are one of the 3 best teams in the league if they're healthy, right? Because now you have that versatile defensive big that can play the 3 or can play the 4, play the 5, slot alongside Anthony Davis, help him on the defensive side, also be able to defend out of the perimeter, defend in the pick and roll. That would be great to have, right? And then you have that 3-and-D sizable forward that can shoot 40% from 3, also defend multiple positions. Even a guy like Wendell Carter, he can shoot. He's like 37, 38% from 3-point range. So you still maintain the shooting, now you're better defensively, got more versatility, right? Like, you start like going down the list and it's like, okay, like now the Lakers are really good. But again, how realistic is Wendell Carter Jr.? How realistic is somebody like a Walker Kessler? Like, yeah, like a Nick Richards would be great, but he doesn't really stretch the floor, right? So how, like, depending on what type of offenses JJ wants to run, you might not be able to get away with that regularly, right? Same thing with like a Clint Capella. He doesn't really stretch the floor. So how frequent can you play Anthony Davis and like a Clint Capella, or Anthony Davis and a Nick Richards? Like how frequently can you allow those two to impact the game on that level? But if you're able to get the perimeter guys, well, then now you have, if you can get two of those guys, well, now you have that impact. You have now the players that have the foot speed, maybe not so much with Jerami Grant, right, with his history of rebounding, but like Cam Johnson, something like that. You have guys that can go track down the ball, right? Particularly a Bruce Brown. He's a guy that's actually very good at tracking down where the ball's going and going and acquiring that basketball, right? You start getting that, start putting those pieces together, right? You bring back a healthy Jared Vanderbilt, right? Jared Vanderbilt's a guy that can rebound, keep balls alive, create, be athletic out on the perimeter, play some defense. Obviously, offense is a concern, but still, like, gives you a guy there, right? You start putting all these pieces together. Lakers would be a legit contender at that point, right? It's just guys staying healthy, putting it all together, right? So again, ideally in a perfect world, you get a Walker Kessler and Jerami Grant, or a Walker Kessler and Cam Johnson, or a Wendell Carter and one of those two guys, right? Or even like a Wendell Carter and a Bruce Brown, whatever, right? Like in a perfect world, you get a center plus a perimeter guy. And then now you solve both of those issues. But if you can't solve one, really upgrade the other, right? So instead of just slightly upgrading and then slightly upgrading the other, which again makes for a significant upgrade, just significantly upgrade that one area that you're most able to upgrade in. And let's go. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. I pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you agree? Do you think like if you can't get a center, focus, get two perimeter guys, get two wings, or a point of attack guard. Like even if it's not a Bruce Brown, even like going and getting Dennis. Can you get Dennis Schroeder and Cam Johnson? Right? Like it doesn't have to be Bruce Brown. I'm just using him as an example again. But get that point of attack, defensive, athletic guard along with a legit 3-and-D forward. If you can't get that center. But do you feel the same way? Do you prefer, like, hey, center isn't as big of a priority. Go get two legit 3-and-D wings. Again, how you feel, whatever your thoughts are. I'd love to hear it. Let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.